As every fisherman knows, it is well nigh impossible to explain to those who don't fish what we fishermen are truly at. I've given up trying myself. What I would do is to recommend the questioner to take up Arthur Ransome's collected essays, Rod and Line, and start with this one.
Nothing is more trying to the patience of fishermen than the remark so often made to them by the profane, "I have not patience enough for fishing." It's not so much the remark itself, showing a complete and forgivable ignorance of angling as it does, that is annoying, as the manner in which it is said, the kindly, condescending manner in which Ulysses might tell Penelope that he had no patience for needlework.
What are they, these dashing, impatient sparks? Are they D'Artagnans all, rough riders, playboys of a Western world? Wild, desperate fellows who look for a spice of danger in their pleasures?
Not a bit of it. They hit a ball backwards and forwards over a net, or submit to the patient drudgery of golf, a laborious form of open-air patience in which you hit a ball, walk earnestly after it, and hit it again. These devotees of monotonous artificial pleasures, who say that fishing is too slow a game for them, seem to imagine that fishing is a sedentary occupation. Let them combine for an afternoon the arts of the Red Indian and the mountaineer, and in the intervals of crawling through brambles and clambering over boulders, keep cool enough to fill a basket with the upstream worms. Let them discover that their exertions have forced them to take their coats off when salmon fishing on a day so cold that their line freezes in the rings. Let them spin for pike in December or trout in August. They'll find they get exercise enough. Some forms of fishing are sedentary in the purely physical sense, in that after a man has baited a spot for carp or roach, or anchored a boat for perch, he keeps still. But he has not attained a sort of nirvana, like a crystal gazer, isolating himself from nature by concentration on a miserable ball. And then went fishing a chub swim, although he might drift his bait again and again past a sunken weed bed for an hour or more without the slightest sign of interest from a fish. His mind is not dull but lively with expectation, and of all the virtues, patience is the one he least requires. Self-control, if you like, but not the most leisurely of all virtues. There would be patience needed to watch a float which, there being no fish in the water, you knew would never budge, but none in watching a float that may at any moment make a demand for instant action.
What other people mistake for patience in anglers is really nothing of the sort, but a capacity for prolonged eagerness and unquenchable gusto in relishing an infinite series of exciting and promising moments, any one of which may yield a sudden crisis with its climax of triumph or disaster.
Something rather like patience may be required by the kind of fisherman who casts a fly without thought, mechanically and uniformly, or one who fishes afloat all day with the bait at the same depth, apparently assuming the fish will seek out his hook, and never realizing that the fish must be found. But such fishermen seldom catch anything, and so rarely persist. And if they do persist, learn to fish in a different manner. Fishing, properly so called, is conducted under continuous tension.
Good one. Oh, a good fish. Very good fish. Oh, beauty. There's a beautiful fish. There's a beautiful fish. Yes, sir. Ooh.
The fisherman is absorbed in his fishing. It's the random, uncontrollable factors that spoil his sport, that call on his reserve and patience. And worst of all, the wind.
Yeah. Oh, God, how I hate the wind. Now, it's a great big chub. Ooh, beautiful fish. Beautiful fish. Yes, sir. And I'll have the hook caught in the mittens, of course. Nothing like a wind to cheer anybody up. Nothing like a wind. A chubby chub. Go on. Many an angler returns with an empty basket after a day made delightful by the knowledge that he was putting his float exactly where he wanted it. He was casting his fly a little better than usual, or that he was dropping his spinner with less splash at greater distances.
The mere athletics of casting give the fisherman all the golfer's pleasure in good driving or putting.
That's the tricky operation. And then the thumb. This will catch a very large fish, this cast. Yes, this will catch a very large fish. Dead right. You watch that float go down.
But, and here is the point, there is no red flag to show the angler in what direction he should aim.
Just about there is the place.
To take from him all initiative, to put him, as it were, in blinkers.
Go down.
His free will is limited only by his skill in execution. If he is a grayling fisher, he's watching the river for a rise, for a boil, for the slight swirl in the water that betrays a fish feeding below, for the roll in the surface made by a submerged stone, above which may be a motionless pocket, below which may be a minute eddy, either a fit place for a fish to lie in wait for his dinner. Or the chub fisher will be looking for signs of underwater refuges, weed or a fallen tree against which sunken debris will have settled, for quiet places where drifting caterpillars and insects collect, for the slow glide downstream from fast water. He must fish as close to the bottom as he dare, for that is where the chub lie. But if he fishes too low, he risks snagging.
And on when light was growing dim, he saw the fish, or else the fish saw him, and hooked it. Ah! No.
When he gets a bite, he must strike, not too quick, not too slow. Either will fail to hook the fish, and the chub that has been just pricked will infect the shoal with his panic, spoiling that spot for hours. The fisherman's day is a long series of crises and demands made on his skill and presence of mind.
So completely does fishing occupy a man that if a good angler were to murder one of those people who prate of patience and were allowed to spend his last day at the river instead of in the condemned cell, he would forget the rope.
The ultimate test is one of time. Patience is a virtue required when time goes slowly. In fishing, time goes too fast. The only time that seems to the fisherman longer than it is that in which he is playing a big fish. Then, indeed, his drawn-out anxiety makes him apt to think he spent 10 minutes in landing a fish which was actually in the net in 2. But no one will suggest that those minutes were so dull that they needed to be patiently borne.
Here we are. You're very goodly, chub.
Fishermen's wives are unanimous in deploring the hopeless unpunctuality of their husbands at the fag end of the day. For fishermen run a race with the sun and are always finding that it has beaten them and is casting their shadow on the water long before they had expected to have to cross the river.